you wouldn't send a Mark III Churchill tank up against a Tiger tank, would you? Well, in this scenario, we're going to be doing just that and seeing how a Mark III will fare against the legendary Tiger. Firstly, let's just take a look at the two tanks and the specs as they come up in Storms of Steel. So for the Tiger, Germany's most advanced tank of World War II, you can see that it's got a movement cost in the upper right of 1 plus an open road movement bonus. On the bottom right, it's got a frontal armour of 21 and a flank armour of 19. It has firepower against soft targets, MG and HE in red of 6, and against armour piercing of 12. And it has a AP cost to fire of 3 on the top left. Significantly, it has a range of 18, which is huge. And let's have a look at its opponents for this exercise. Here's a Churchill Mark III tank. This was a British tank lent to the Russians in the Lend-Lease program. And spec-wise, this has got a movement cost of 1. It has a rear armour of 16, a frontal armour rating of 18. It has firepower against armour of 9, against soft targets of 4. It has a cost to fire of 5, and it has a range of only 8. So, quite significant differences in these two tanks. So, for the purpose of this scenario, we'll be sending 3 Mark IIIs up against this Tiger here to see how it fares. And taking a look at the board, you can see from the distance that we'll be having the Tiger set up at the end of this village road, and for the purposes of the scenario, he'll be protecting some retreating troops that are leaving the village, heading off to the right, and to the left, approaching the village, we will be having a Churchill set up down there with another Churchill, and a third Churchill will be coming from the north. So their task, as given to them by their commander, is to get into the village and mop up any remaining Germans there. Well, to their impending discomfort, the only German unit they're going to come up against is a Tiger. So let's see if you would send a Mark III Churchill tank up against a Tiger tank. For the purposes of this exercise, we'll be just using the standard rules where 7 unit action points are allocated per activation for each of the Soviets and Germans. And the initiative will go to the Soviets to start with, and they'll be activating their 2 Churchills who will be advancing on the Tiger tank. And unfortunately, they're going to be in the open at this time of year. The wheat fields aren't offering any protection. They are well in with range of the Tiger, but they have no option if they want to take that village. So they are going to pay the 1 cost to get moving as a group. So the 1 goes down and they both advance. Sorry, that was the starting point there. So they're now activated and moved. In response, the Panzer commander, who's looking outside the top of his hatch, sees the movement in the wheat fields, orders his gunner to open fire, and the gunner traverses the turret and they pay their cost to fire. And here we go, the first action of this little scenario. So they have a 12 strength armour piercing against the frontal armour of the Churchills. The Panzer's firing at the closest Churchill. Frontal armour is 18, they're at 12. So they are going to need at least 6 to get a hit and another 4 to completely destroy it. So here we go. 12 with 24. Okay, those are Tigers for you. So that's well above the required amount to get 4 extra. So first blood to the Tiger. Whack gone. And the Churchill would normally go on the command action point track, but it's not being used for this particular exercise. So, wow, what a roll. Okay, and it's back to the Churchill, and this tank and tank crew are pretty demoralised at the moment, seeing their neighbouring tank brewing up on the first shot from the village. So they plough ahead, they pay their one, and they move forward. Okay, and the Tiger commander, elated with the success of his gunner, orders the gunner to fire again at the other tank. So they pay their second costs to fire, and they let leash with the gun. Okay, at 7 and 12, we are looking at 19, which matches and exceeds by 1 the frontal armour of the Churchill, so they take 1 hit. So we draw one at random from the... And the tank takes light damage. It doesn't affect any of the other stats, but it can't be rallied, so another hit would destroy this tank. So it's good in one way, but in another way it's not so hot. Okay, so this situation now, the only positive for the Russians is that the Tiger has no further action points in this round. So the Churchill is going... he has 1 action point, but he can't fire. So the Churchill is going to continue his advance, pays his 1, moves forward 1, and the Panzer commander is electing to stay where he is. So he's going to just spend his 1 AP, and just he is spent. And back to the activated Churchill, he spends another 1 and advances, another 1 and advances, another 1, advances, and he's still too far away to fire with any degree of success with his low armour piercing rating and a frontal armour of 21 of the Tiger. And he spends his last 1 AP to move forward, and he is spent and still in the open. Okay, now the Soviet has the option now to activate his more northern Churchill, so he does so, gives him 7 APs, and he moves forward 1, and so forth. Now the Tiger can't respond because he's spent, so we're just going to spend the action points of the Churchill in 1 hit and move him up as far as possible with his remaining 6 action points. So he's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he ends there. So that's the end of the first round, and certainly first blood to the Tiger, and significant it was too. So as you can see from this distance, the Churchills have closed somewhat, but they are really both exposed. Certainly the southern one is, and I think the northern one is also in the line of sight of the Tiger as well, just poking out of the edge of that forest there. So let's move to the next round, and initiative is going to be critical. Okay, here we go for the initiative roll. Let's roll for the Germans first. 1, and the Russians 3. Okay, so the Russians get to go first. The Northern Tank Commander activates first. He has his 7 APs. He has to close to get any chance of having a crack at the Tiger. He pays his 1 and moves forward. And in response, the Tiger opens fire on that northern unit. 1, 2, 3. And he's firing again, frontal armour. He's in line of sight, within range. Armour piercing of 12. And he rolls a 5. 12 and 5 is 17. The frontal armour is 18. It's a miss. Oh, they breathe a sigh of relief, those Russians. Okay, the Soviet advances once more, pays his 1 AP, and continues to close. And the Tiger responds, paying another 3 to activate and fire his cannon. And 12 plus 8, 20, which matches and exceeds the 18 frontal armour. So we go to the cup and we draw a, would you believe it, immobilised and cannot be rallied. Okay, things are just getting bad to worse. So effectively this tank cannot move, its armour at the rear is increased and at the front decreased. Protection, that is. So pretty much a disaster. Okay, it's back to the Russians, and this immobilised unit is unable to move and close, which is just hopeless, really. He can elect to pass over the activation to the southern unit, but that would waste his 5 remaining APs. So he is going to fire, and let's see if that's going to be worthwhile. If he fires, the range is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's within range of his 8 at the Tiger. He would have an armour attack of 9. He can't modify it because we're not using caps or the cards. So he would require 21 to hit this Tiger. So we're looking at another 10, 11, 12. And okay, well, the Tiger got that in the first roll. We have really no choice here, I don't think. We can't even rally with this immobilised marker. So we've just got to throw caution to the wind and rally. We have no other option. So we spend the 5 to fire. We have 9, looking for 12 to match the frontal armour of this Tiger. And we don't have it, and the Churchill is spent. And the Tiger has 1 AP remaining. It's quite happy just to sit there at the moment, and is going to, in fact, it's going to advance for its 1 AP payment, and it is spent. The Tiger has got confident. Okay, and we now go back down to the southernmost tank, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is now within range of the Tiger, and he's in the same situation. He has a armour rating of 9 and needs a 12 to pierce that frontal armour of the Tiger, so he's going to give that a crack as well. There's little option for him to do it otherwise, and it's a 7, so he has spent his 5 to fire, and he's been ineffective. Tiger's still spent. The Russian has 2 APs. He's going to move 1 with the first AP and 2 with the second AP, and is now spent. So that's the situation at the end of round 2, with the northernmost Churchill immobilised and the lower one spent and damaged. Okay, let's go to round 3 and see who gets initiative. Okay, we're rolling for initiative, and Germans roll first, 5, and the Russians 2. So the Germans go first, and the tank commander is going to fire at the southernmost Churchill first. That has light damage. So he pays his, gets his 7 action points, pays his 1, 2, 3 to fire. He's within range, looking for the 18, having 6 armour piercing. Rolls, and he gets 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 19. It's sufficient to meet the frontal armour of the Churchill. Gives it a hit. It's a second hit, so the Churchill is destroyed. And it's over to the immobilised Churchill just outside the woods here. It is a sitting duck, essentially, but he does have a chance to get one shot in before he's potentially destroyed. So he pays his 5 to activate his gun. He's within range of the Tiger, and he has a armour piercing of 9 and fires, and he's not even close to the 21. required to hit the tiger. It's back to the tiger. He's just going to have another shot. He pays his 3. In fact, no, he's going to move closer, paying 1, which takes him to 4. And he moves 1, 2. And the Crusader, who has 2 APs left, is immobilized. He doesn't have sufficient to fire. So he is actually going to just pass. And it comes down to the tiger with his remaining 3 APs. He will fire 1, 2, 3. I think that's in close range. And he will get a bonus of... no, he won't. He's not in short range. That's when you're at 1 hex away. I'm thinking of another game. So, the tiger is firing normally with his armour piercing of 12, needing 18 to hit and destroy the Churchill. And he has 6, 12 is 18, and the Churchill takes the second hit, and as a result, is destroyed. So, would you send a Churchill, let alone 3, up against a tiger tank? Admittedly, the tiger rolled really well on the first roll, but I think this just goes to show how powerful the tiger was. It certainly is in the game of Storms of Steel, and I think it reflects what we know about the tiger in action during World War II, when it was able to take out multiple tanks. So I hope you enjoyed that little scenario. Again, if I made any rules errors, let me know, but I haven't played this for a long time, so I've bound to have maybe got something not quite right. And thanks again, and watch out for the next one.